Capricornia is a 1938 novel by the Australian author Xavier Herbert. Xavier Herbert was a pseudonym. Its author, Alfred Jackson, was the illegitimate son of a Welsh engine driver. He was born in Western Australia in 1901, and he died in Northern Territory in 1984. Before completing Capricornia, Herbert had been a pharmacist and a railway fettler, in addition to holding an official government post as the Protector of Aborigines. Capricornia shot through with a concern for Australia's Indigenous people and a nagging belief that their culture might, in certain ways, be superior to the one that's violently supplanting it. In Britain, I can't speak for other countries, Capricornia has been relegated to the status of a mass-market paperback, hence this cover. But I'm going to argue that that's a mistake. It's an important piece of world literature, at least as good as John Steinbeck's East of Eden, for example, with which it has one or two things in common. It has two relatively minor shortcomings. Firstly, the characters don't reflect overly on their actions or intentions, but then some people don't. Secondly, the writing's not outstanding. On the other hand, it is better than the average, and it's completely unpretentious. Essentially, it's a slice of history epic. Its major themes are racism, violence, sexual predation, and hypocrisy, all often fueled by alcohol. Mostly, Herbert's content to let events speak for themselves. He only breaks in very occasionally, and mainly to make sardonic comments on double standards. It focuses on one geographical area, a deep coastal plain in Northern Territory in a still developing nation. It begins at the end of the 19th century in violence and genocide, and when it ends, sometime in the early second quarter of the 20th century, we see the birth of the railways and the emerging rule of law. Nothing is easy. There are protagonists but no heroes. The Shillingsworths are central because they bring the central issues into focus, not because they buck any of the trends. There's no rags to riches about them, no heroism, and no trans-historical integrity. It's not, at least directly, about the whole of Australia. We often get insights into what's happening in the South at the time. The South appears to be much more consonant with society in Western Europe and the Eastern USA, and at least nominal commitment to trade unions, the right to a fair trial, parliamentary-style democracy, and so on. By contrast, Capricornia is the frontier. It's a wild land with a nightmarish climate. A desert in the dry season, a lake in the wet, as one character puts it. In case the unfamiliar reader might think the wet season is just a bit damp, the author provides a vivid illustration of it in chapter 22. The whole area turns into a surging, impassable river, and there are violent electrical storms. The novel intelligently discusses climate, politics, the natural environment, the economy, religion, demographics, farming, transport, disease, and international relations. There's nothing implausible in here, either historically or psychologically, and no melodrama, no glorious heroism, nor authorial tear-jerking. It features ordinary humans of the pioneering type, profiteers, drifters, those seeking a new start, but precious few idealists, and only two intellectuals, both of whom are minor characters. One never gets the impression that the author's contriving events so as to secure certain outcomes. He's exceptionally good at depicting and analysing the lies people tell themselves in order to excuse their own cruelty. This is an underrated novel, but it's one of those that can appeal to many different kinds of readers because it's pacey as well as compassionate, and it doesn't pull any punches. Above all, it feels authentic.